Dear learners, today we are going to learn about research process. Research process consists of logical sequence of actions and methods which are necessary to effectively solve research problem. Research process involves following steps. Number 1, defining or formulating research problem. Number 2, extensive literature review. Number 3, formulating hypothesis. Number 4, design research or determining sample design. Number 5, collecting data. Number 6, analyzing the data. Number 7, interpretation of results. Then drawing conclusion, and finally report writing. This is schematic diagram representing entire research process, starting from defining research problem, then planning a research design, then planning sample size, gathering the data, processing and analyzing the data, and to evaluate the data, to draw conclusion, and then writing reports. One by one we will see each step, starting with defining or formulating research problem. There are two types of research problem. Number 1 or A, related to states of nature, and other B, related to relationship between variables. Researcher must figure out area in which he wants to carry out research. Initially decide general area and then understand the research problem thoroughly, and you can rephrase the same into meaningful term from analytical point of view. After formulating the research problem, a brief summary should be written. For this, exhaustive literature survey should be carried out using journals, books, library, proceedings, official books, and government report. Literature review is a comprehensive survey of works published in a particular field of study or line of research. There are three types of documents available for literature review. Number 1, primary source. Number 2, secondary. And number 3, tertiary source of literature. Primary source represents research based first hand information, hence they are extremely important in research. Primary source of documents or review documents includes theses, journals, manuscripts, standards, and patents, while secondary includes books and encyclopedias, while tertiary source of literature includes bibliography and indexes. Researcher should also search online journals such as e-journals, e-books, online database. Database include Springer, Blackwell, and Science Direct, and organization directories, institutional repositories, subject portals, and gateways. Literature search is an exhaustive search for published information on the research topic. Any literature review starts with literature search. Literature review involves following steps: to decide which information is useful and which is not useful, to determine how to record what is gathered from various sources, and to select orderly recording or note taking system. Literature review helps the researcher in following ways. Means these are the advantages of carrying out or to do literature review. Number 1, It can help to gain background knowledge of research topic. Number 2, identify the concept related to it. It helps to formulate researchable hypotheses. It helps to identify appropriate methodology, to decide research design, to identify documentary sources used by other researchers, and it is also helpful to lay good foundation of research work. Now next is formulating hypothesis. A working hypothesis must be stated in clear terms. So once the literature review is completed, one should go for hypothesis formulation, and for that working hypothesis must be stated in very clear terms. What is hypothesis? Hypothesis is an assumption made in order to draw out and test its logical and empirical consequences. Approaches in developing working hypothesis. Now there are 4 approaches for developing working hypothesis: by finding the origin of the research problem and studying its objective. Number 2, you can discuss the problem with your colleagues and experts, and then you can come out with some good hypothesis by examining the past data and records, and by review the similar studies and similar problems. Now preparing research design. Now what is research design? It is conceptual structure within which research would be conducted. The good research design is that design which provide maximum collection of data, evidence with minimum expenditure of effort, time and money. Now next step is determining sample design. Now sample design is a definite plan determined before any data is actually collected for obtaining the sample from the given population. So before obtaining any data, sample design should be properly stated. Now samples can either be a probability sample or non-probability sample. Now for understanding of sample, we should know what is population or universe. All items under consideration in any field of inquiry consist of universe or population. Means in any inquiry or in any research, if we consider all items, so those all item is known as universe or population. A complete enumeration or complete calculation of all items in the population is known as census inquiry. Means if you take into consideration all the items which are there for a particular inquiry, then it is known as 100% or census inquiry. In such type of census inquiry, all items are covered and no item is left. But in practice, this is not possible because it requires a lot of time, money and energy, and therefore few samples from the universe is selected for study. Means why samples are selected? Because it is very difficult to take all the items which are, or it is very difficult to consider all the items which are present in population. So for that matter, you have to take sufficient number of items for study, and that is known as sampling. Now types of sampling. There are different types of sampling. First is simple random sampling. Also, it is also known as chance sampling or probability sampling, where each and every item has an equal chance of inclusion in the sampling. For example, selection of 30 samples from universe of 100 items. So each and every item will have equal opportunity to get included in the sample. Systematic sampling. Example is every 15th name in the list. Suppose you have list of 100 students. So every 15th name if you are, or every 10th student you are selecting, that is known as systematic sampling. Now stratified sampling. If a population from which sample is to be drawn does not constitute a homogeneous group, then strata are formed. Means what? If your population does not include all equal items, in that case you have to group or you have to form strata within that universe or population, and then you have to take sample from that representative sample, and strata should be uniform. So population is divided into strata and samples are selected from each stratum. Each group is known as stratum. If a random sampling is applied during selection of sample, now once you have formed the strata, now from each stratum, when you are selecting a sample, if you are applying random sampling, then it is called as stratified random sampling. Next is quota sampling. Stratum can be further divided into quota. The size of quota for each stratum is generally proportional to size of stratum in the population. Means quota are nothing but when stratum is divided into further smaller group, then that is known as quota. Now the size of the quota is proportional to size of the stratum. Next is cluster sampling. Clusters or groups are formed and then samples are selected. They are more or less like strata sampling and quota sampling. Next is area sampling. To cover large geographical area, divide the area into smaller non-overlapping area, then sampling is done. So if you want to study geographical area wise, then you can divide that area into non-overlapping area and then you can select sample. Then multi-stage sampling. It is further development of cluster sampling, useful for large inquiry, for example to cover entire country. So multi-stage sampling is for entire country. Now next step, once the sample size or sampling technique is fixed, then next step is collection of data or collecting data. Primary data can be collected either by experiment or by survey. You can collect the data either by performing experiment or you can carry out survey. Now experiment is a quantitative measurements done by researcher, while survey can be obtained by personal interview, by telephonic interview or by some questionnaire using hard copy of some question paper, or you can do by mail or using Google form. Now once the data are obtained, next is analysis of data. After collecting the data, a researcher analyzes the data. Analysis involves different techniques to classify the raw data. Means before analyzing the data, you have to classify or you have to group the data into meaningful and purposeful category. It involves coding, means transforming the data into some symbols if required, editing, improve the quality of data for coding, and third is tabulation, means data is put in form of table. Next is hypothesis testing. After analyzing the data, the researcher tests the hypothesis that was formulated earlier. Depending on type of research, various tests are used for testing the hypothesis. T-test, chi-square test, F-test. These are the methods which are useful for hypothesis testing. Now this hypothesis testing will result in either accepting the hypothesis or rejecting the hypothesis. Once the hypothesis is tested, then the next step is interpretation and generalization. Means drawing the conclusion. The result of hypothesis may be favorable or unfavorable. As in our previous slide, we have seen that hypothesis can be accepted or it can be rejected depending upon results obtained. So based on the results of testing hypothesis, the researcher reaches at generalization, that is building a theory. If the researcher had no hypothesis, he might seek explain his findings on the basis of some theory. It is known as interpretation. Means if you don't have hypothesis, you might seek explain his your finding on the basis of some theory. It is known as interpretation. The process of interpretation often triggers of new questions which leads to more research. Means sometimes it may happen that once the generalization is done or once the conclusion is drawn, the conclusion may give rise to more question leading to more research on that topic. Last part is preparation of report. Finally, the researcher has to prepare a report of what has been done by him. Means entire research report is to be prepared. The layout of the report should be as follows. The layout of report includes preliminary pages, main text and end of the report. Preliminary pages includes title page, acknowledgement, index, list of figures, list of tables and certificates. While main text includes introduction, methodology, results and discussion and conclusion. And last, end of the report includes bibliography and appendix. So this is all about entire research process. In our next lecture, we will learn about preparation of report in detail. Thank you all for patiently listening. Have a good day.